started. So aloha and welcome to our June meeting. Oh, it's June already. Before we start, if I can call up, I just want to make sure, Uncle Earl Kukahiko to offer our pule, as is our custom, to ask our kupuna for guidance before the start of something significant, and especially in a place such as this where we're borrowing the school's cafeteria. So Uncle Earl, can you join us up here and go ahead and offer our pule for the start of tonight's meeting, and then we'll launch right into it. It's a long road to aloha. All good, all good.
Thank you, Mahina. So instead of me just doing a basic prayer, why don't we all rise? And then let's do ho'onani, because we need some music in our life right now. So I flat, that's why I sing flat. Okay, so those of you that know ho'onani or the doxology, we'll do it in Hawaiian. Okay? Zeke's not here, yeah? Shucks. Okay. Ho'onani ka makua mau, ke ki me ka huane no, ke aku a mau ho'o mai ka ipu, ko ke ia'au, ko ke la'au. Amen. Okay, mahalo.
Mahalo, mahalo, Uncle Earl Kukahiko. As always, we invite you to take care of yourself and those around you, just like any airline, good advice. In order to help others, make sure you can help yourself. So we invite you to use any of the mental health resources. Again, these slides are not this moment on our website. They will be, but you can scan the QR code or you can call any of these numbers, including a chat service, to seek help and support. We want to say congratulations to the class of 2025, Lahaina Luna especially. We look forward to the new grown-ups of Lahaina Luna, but also congratulations to all high schools, including UHMC, any advanced degrees folks got, and even preschoolers and grade schoolers who made it through 2025, but also to the parents who made it to another school year. So congratulations to all of you. We wanted to share with you that the Department of Parks and Recreation will be having a movie night. There's a little bit more information if you want to call 270-4314, but the movie is called Mufasa, the Lion King. So a little bit of a break if you want to go. It's Thursday, June 19th at the Lahaina Civic Center. The gates open at 6 o'clock. It's free. So Mufasa, but you can take your kids. It's a nice summer evening to enjoy as well. But this is hosted by our County Department of Parks and Recreation. Well, mahalo for joining us tonight. There is a heavy agenda for us. The Army Corps of Engineers will be giving us a status of the transfer operations of the wildfire debris from our temporary site at Olowalu to the permanent site at Central Maui. Now, we've been talking about this for several months now. It is going to be a temporary time where we are going to see truckloads of going, so you're going to hear an update on that. But we have been speaking about this for many months now, and this is a time when we're getting ready to actually begin. So I look forward to the update from our team. Many of you have been asking, or some of you have been asking about Fleming Road, the sewer system connection. So Shane Nagawa is here tonight to give an update on that. We'll also hear from our friends at EPA on the Drainage Master Plan project, the update on that. Office of Recovery is here to give their update on how the rebuilding of Lahaina Town is coming along, and information on a great series of sessions that we want you to participate in coming up at the end of June. That one's going to be big because it's going to be a great opportunity to be there and be informed and be part of the design and the rebuild. And tonight, because we have heard so much of the concerns in the town about fraud affecting home builders, we asked our county, our top prosecuting attorney, he heads the Office of Prosecuting Attorney, Andy Martin, no relation to me, but we always end up at the same stuff. So we brought our prosecuting attorney to share some insights, some helpful tips, and be available for questions as well this evening. Coming up June 16th. So what we found out, want to make sure we let you know this. So we are trying something new, right? And then we went to a webinar mid-month to try to offer an online. We found out that the webinar wasn't as popular. We had hoped that people off island or, just interested in things would attend. The attendance numbers has been dwindling and dwindling. Most of the attendees have been our own people. Or agencies and supporters. So what we're going to try to do is, and this is a real learning curve, as you all know, as we deal with our community meetings, we're going to try topic-specific gatherings. So in June, instead of a webinar, we're actually going to host, because the last meeting we had in May, there was so much interest in hazard mitigation when we had the fire department here, we had that one, assistant chief here. We're going to have a whole meeting on that. So Maui Emergency Management Agency, along with our Maui Fire Department, fire prevention folks, Fire Chief Brad Ventura will be here. So that meeting is on Monday, June 16th, not here, but at Princess Nahi'enaena, only because there's something else going on here that night. So we'll be announcing that more as we get closer, but I wanted to give you the heads up about what's going on with that. And then, of course, we return July 2nd. We recognize that it is a 4th of July weekend, but since it's a Wednesday night and most people, start taking off from Friday, we will proceed with our July meeting. There's just so much going on that we didn't want to postpone it or cancel. Mayor Bisson is unable to be with us this evening. He's with the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, who is having their meeting with their beneficiaries tonight. And he's providing an update to the trustees, but he sends his aloha to you. And we sure would have liked to have him here because there's some pretty good news to share this evening. So regrettably, he's not here, but we are expecting Managing Director Josiah Nishita to deliver some great announcements this evening in a little bit. One of the things that Mayor Bisson wanted to remind everyone was that we announced earlier the deferred payment loan program, and this is to offer relief. You can find it on hawaiicommunitylending.com/Maui relief. And this is to help with property survey expenses, affordable construction services, negotiating with mortgage services, and to assist in finding funding and financing. So this is a great resource put together by the county, Hawaii Community Foundation, Maui United Way, and Hawaii Community Lending. So please take advantage, go check it out on hawaiicommunitylending.com/Maui relief. We just want to remind you of that. We announced it a few weeks ago, but this is a pretty big opportunity. I'm going to turn this over to Council Member Tamara Paulton.
Aloha mai kako. Sorry, so sorry that I missed you folks last month. I had just come back from Hilo and it totally spaced my mind. The biggest news from the legislative side, I think, is that we passed second and final reading of the budget on Tuesday, so it's POW, done, finished, done. It doesn't go into effect until July 1st, but I did bring the tax rates. We were able to lower the lower tier of owner-occupied a little bit in addition to what the mayor did, and we made it up more in the transient accommodations with a little bit more in hotel, timeshare, TVR, kind of a lot more on the highest tier of non-owner occupied. So I'll just leave these at the EPA table if anyone wants to know the exact amounts at what the taxes were set at. We did pass Bill 104, which is the kitchenette bill. Once it goes into effect, I think first reading is June 20th. It'll go from being allowed to have 2 wet bars to being allowed to have 1 wet bar and 1 kitchenette, which would allow you to have like a hot plate, a little bit bigger size refrigerator in a dwelling, not in a accessory dwelling unit, but in a dwelling. We're on hold for Bill 103 as there were a lot of concerns about parking. So we're drafting up the suggestion from Jordan Hart and seeing if we can get that to go through concurrently. Sorry, my husband. And we have a council meeting this Friday as well. I think Ho'onani, it's proposed to be a 1,600 rental project development in back of Lowe's is on that agenda. They'd like to send it through the Planning Commission. It is still pretty far into the future. They still need to do an EA, get their state land use district boundary amendment and other things like that. But that's pretty much it. As always, you can find agendas posted at mauicounty.us/agendas. Today we had a great presentation from the Army Corps of Engineers. So if anyone wants to ask what is the difference between non-hazardous and hazardous, they're all primed and ready for that question. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Council Member. We are going to turn this over to Army Corps, but before we do, we have a lost and found key. Looks like a car key. So I guess it'll be somebody who can't get home. We can wait until the very end, but we have a car key. And today you're going to hear, as I said, about from our prosecuting attorney on helping homeowners avoid the risk of fraud. But you'll also see on that side of the wall a bunch of placards, a bunch of signs made by DCCA. It's a state agency. They would like us, meaning the whole community, to post them anywhere and everywhere. Now, don't do it where you're not supposed to, okay? But if you want to put it where you have approval to put it, like your own property, it will help your neighbors understand how to avoid this particular, there's 3 different versions. This one talks about unlicensed contractors. So there's a stack of them on that table. Now we're going to bring up Army Corps of Engineers, and we just determined today, we've been talking for months about when this operation is going to start, and they're going to share with us what that is now that we have that determined today. But I again want to remind everyone, this is such an important step in our recovery. And while I know some folks feel like it's inconvenient, trust me, my office have fielded dozens of calls from family reunions, canoe regattas, sports tournament practices, parties, you name it, weddings, asking if we cannot do the transport operations on a particular day. Unfortunately, doing that for every single request is going to push us far beyond the time frame we have. So that's why it is a difficult thing. But we're going to have to stick it out together. Councilmember Paulton has been pressing us to make sure that we give as much information, communicate promptly, and give any updates on a need to know if there are extraordinary delays or significant delays on the pulley or any part of the route. So while this is a temporary period in time, it is part of our recovery. So I just want to keep asking us to have that kind of aloha and patience as you work your day and plan your travel. I'm going to turn this over to Army Corps of Engineers. This is Lieutenant Colonel Biggerstaff.
Thank you. All right, aloha and mahalo for being here tonight. Before I jump into my brief, I just want to reference back to an earlier slide. Mufasa, Lion King, that is a really good one. If you haven't seen it, please go and enjoy that, especially it's the right price. So for tonight, we do have a confirmed date. It's going to be 16 June is when we start moving debris. That 400,000 tons of debris will start moving that day. The plan is, as we go through, it's going to be a learning experience. We think we'll probably be dialing in what the rate's going to look like more and more every day and trying to make traffic impact as minimal as possible. But we do ask for patience as we kick this off because we want to get it right. And we want to learn from these first few days. We'll have a better estimate next month as we see about a month of work or 2 weeks of work go by. So we still plan for 5 months as of right now. But again, a better refined estimate next month after we've seen a few weeks of progress and seeing how this works out. While I'm on that note, you will be seeing these placards on the vehicles, get close to the camera, moving the debris. So if it doesn't have this placard, it's not our vehicle. But if it is this placard and you see an issue, call the number on this placard because we want to hear from you. But we expect that our contractors will be doing the best work out there. They have a very, very rigorous process to make sure they're containing that debris, and they'll be driving the speed limit and minimizing traffic delay. So I do not expect a lot of phone calls coming in complaining about what they're doing. Before I move to the next slide, make sure I didn't leave anything up here. The route has not changed. We'll be coming down 30 to 380, and then we'll be getting on Cane Hall Road as our primary route. If that route were to close for any reason, we would then go to either the alternate route north, the green route, or the alternate route to the south, the yellow route. And those are all the updates I have tonight. Oh, this is my slide too, isn't it? So if you do have questions, sorry, I forgot that one slid in there. There's a QR code. Please take a picture of the QR code. A lot of frequently asked questions are posted at that site. Hopefully that can answer the questions you have. If they don't, we'll be sticking around tonight to answer any questions you do have. And from those questions, we'll try to update these frequently asked questions. And with that, that's my last slide.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel. Use the QR code. And we did not deliberately cut the bottom off on this graphic. We've been asked that a few times. It's just that we captured a copy of it. But please use the QR code to get the full one. Not sure if we brought any hard copies tonight. Did we, Steph? Okay, so QR code. I'm going to bring out Shane Agawa of Department of Environmental Management. Here he is. I saw you this morning. It looked like you got a haircut from this morning.
Thanks, Mahina. I did get a haircut, so I'm a little itchy. Thank you, everybody. Good to be here again. Tonight, I'm going to give you some guidance for people who live on Fleming Road. I know some of you have been asking, okay, how do I tie into the sewer system? Some of you are in the rebuild process already. Some of you haven't gone through the permitting process. So this is just a little bit of guidance I'm going to share with you. This slide shows the lots that are affected with the blue crosshatch. Those are the lots off of Fleming Road. The line going down Fleming and Malo just shows the alignment of the new sewer system that was built under USACE's project to service the Kilohana project, temp housing project. This is referencing the Maui County Code 14.25A 130. It just gives an overview of what the code says about connecting wastewater laterals. I'm not going to go over it. You guys can refer to it. And I do have some hard copies for those of you who want it, want to take home the guidance, or want to share with your neighbors. First off, this is the sewer lateral that was installed by the Army Corps. This is what you'll see as far as a clean out. So what was installed is you'll see the sewer lateral there, which is the horizontal portion. The vertical portion, or the chimney, which we call the clean out, is 2 feet from your property line, but it was installed on the roadway side of your property line. So that's what you should see here. This next detail shows what your contractor, your plumbing contractor, will need to do as part of your connection to the Fleming Road sewer line. The dashed in one is the lateral that I just shown you on the previous slide. You can see it's 2 feet on the roadway side. When your time to connect comes up, you're going to have your plumbing contractor relocate that clean out or chimney to 2 feet into your property. And that is per the code that I referred to earlier. The circle there is just a cutaway portion of the sewer main in the road. This is the lateral going to your property. This next detail just shows you an option. If your on-site plumbing is fairly shallow, there's a big grade difference or elevation difference from your on-site plumbing to the plumbing or the sewer main in the road. This is an option that you can tie into the clean out once it's on your property a little higher, so you don't have to trench all the way down and pay that extra cost. For example, if the sewer main is, say, 8 feet low in the road and your on-site plumbing is, say, 4 feet, you'll save another 4 feet of trenching to connect if you connect higher up on the clean out. And that's what that dash portion shows. So this is the guidance that I mentioned to you earlier. So some of you is like, okay, what's the steps, right? So step one, these are for people who haven't gone through the building permit process yet. So normally a plumbing permit is required. In this case, for disaster rebuild, a plumbing permit would not be required. This will all be part of your building permit for disaster rebuild. Number two, on-site plumbing, pipe and plumbing installation. So once you get the building permit approved, then you'll go ahead and work, or your plumber will work on the on-site plumbing from your home. Sometimes you are connected to a cesspool or septic. Your plumber will redirect it from there toward the clean out, that chimney that I showed you earlier. Number three, as I mentioned earlier, you're gonna need your plumbing contractor to relocate the clean out. So from 2 feet in the roadway to 2 feet into your property. This last note, basically what happens when people do work in the county right away, they would need to submit for a county work to perform permit. In your case on Fleming Road for the rebuild, you will be exempt from having that permit. However, you still need to have your plumbing contractor build the clean out connection per Public Works details. And here's a website address that you can have your plumbing contractor or yourself refer to that. It'll give you guidance on any work from your property line to the roadway. Number four, inspection. So when your plumber is ready to do the connection to the clean out from your on-site plumbing, you will have them or yourself contact 4Leaf, and they will do the inspection of the connection, the actual connection to the clean out. Number five, your plumbing contractor will then contact 4Leaf again once your connection is made to the clean out, and then there will be a pressure testing. And what the pressure testing does is it just tests that your plumbing contractor did the job correctly and there's no leaks. Number six, which is the final step, once the connection is made, you pass the pressure inspection, you will then have yourself or your plumbing contractor call our wastewater reclamation division. That's the number there. It's the same number I've been sharing with everybody, 270-7417. And what happens is they'll have somebody come out and actually GIS the coordinates of your system, and it goes into our database. They will also do a CCTV, which is sending a video camera down the clean out to check the lateral to the main and make sure everything is okay. Once that passes, you're good to go. You got sewer connection to Fleming Road sewer system. Thank you. That's all I have.
Aloha everyone, my name is Sarah Pedroza. I'm US EPA's Region 9 Disaster Recovery Coordinator. I am Kama'aina, so I'm on island if anybody has any questions about EPA's ongoing support in Maui recovery besides some of the projects that I'm gonna be updating you on tonight. Please feel free to reach out to me after our presentation. So tonight I wanted to provide a very brief high-level update on our Lahaina Drainage Master Plan project. It is basically technical assistance to integrate green infrastructure and low-impact development, nature-based solutions, and also to update the hydraulic modeling associated with the Lahaina Drainage Master Plan, which was last updated in 2005. I wanted to provide a little bit of context to this project and how it came to fruition. Drainage master plans are something that are standard within different geographic regions. Just so happens that for Lahaina, it was last updated in 2005. When the county went through their long-term recovery plan process, they identified 3 projects that related to water infrastructure. One being infrastructure and drainage improvement studies, 2 being stormwater resilience and flood risk mitigation, and 3 being VI and watershed planning. So those were identified by you folks, if you remember engaging in that process last year. And one of those projects that was identified was to be able to update the Lahaina Drainage Master Plan. As I mentioned, the county had an existing plan that was last updated in 2005. It covers about 800 acres of Lahaina town. It is basically south of Kahoma Stream. And I'll show a map here in a second of what the project area is. However, the study is pretty outdated, about 25 years or 20 years old, and there's been a lot of development improvements, CIP projects, land use changes, and things like that that have happened, pre-fire, but also post-fire. And so the county wanted to look at updating the drainage master plan. And so in that process, FEMA and their interagency recovery coordination team basically looked at all of the long-term recovery plan projects and identified projects that other federal agencies could potentially provide support in. The Lahaina Drainage Master Plan was one of them, and so the County of Maui requested EPA provide technical assistance through our BPA contract mechanism to be able to update the Lahaina Drainage Master Plan for decision-making purposes in the future, or to better inform some of the stormwater and drainage issues that we're seeing in the town. So again, the county will need to repair and enhance existing stormwater infrastructure, especially following the August 2023 wildfires. And the technical assistance would help to result in a more resilient, sustainable system that could be better managed. And we really wanted to provide a focus on incorporating green infrastructure, nature-based solutions, as this was something that was lacking in the 2005 plan, and is something that has been obviously presented as a priority for the community here, besides existing great infrastructure and hardscape engineering. So this is a map of the plan. Again, the study area that the 2005 Drainage Master Plan was everything south of Kahoma Stream. We're focusing on this area. Many of you may have seen we had contractors in the field about 2 weeks ago that were actually on island looking at some of these drainage outlets a little bit more closely, meeting with county maintenance staff to make sure that their maps and modeling were best informed. So they were in the field and they got a lot of great data. They're in the process of putting together a pre-fire report, updating the hydraulic modeling, and in the near future, later this summer, we'll be able to have an updated plan. With that being said, we wanted to provide opportunity for community engagement, as this is something that directly impacts you, but also something that we wanted to provide more education on and outreach. The county has a lot of water-related projects that will be coming down the pipeline, and so we're going to be working closely with Office of Recovery to figure out the timing of that, when it would be the best opportunity to tap into that and provide more information and allow for engagement and comment on the project. But I wanted to start to familiarize everyone that this is one of the projects that we're taking on since we had people recently in the field. And if anybody has any questions this evening, please feel free to come up to me after. One other project that I wanted to provide a very high-level update on is our Wahikuli Gravity Sewer Design Project. We are still on track and on target to have 100% shovel-ready design that we will hand over to the County of Maui to be able to go into the next phase, which would be construction of the sewer in Wahikuli. We had about 20 properties that we identified that would need further topographic surveying so we can have our contractors best inform the engineering and the design of the project. And so we reached out to those property owners and we collected right of entry agreements, and they're going to be notified that our contractors will be coming into those spaces. But for those 20 property owners outside who didn't participate in that ROE process, we did want to inform you that if you see strangers, engineers, and scientists on your neighbors' properties, we did inform them, and we are in conversation. It's a non-invasive process, and that is going to be happening throughout the month of June. So if you see, again, any contractors that are kind of going through the process with surveying type equipment, that is our EPA subcontractors. And if there is any questions or concerns, you can reach out to me and I can provide my contact information after this presentation. So that is all I wanted to update. And again, the project is on track for completion in spring 2026. Mahalo.
Thank you, Sarah. Earlier, I said that our Managing Director, Josiah Nishita, was going to be here on behalf of Mayor Bissen to deliver some news. So I did want to call him up so he can share that before we move on to Office of Recovery's update. Josiah?
Aloha, good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us here today. My name is Josiah Nishita, Managing Director with the County of Maui. On behalf of Mayor Bissen, we have some great news for the community that we'd like to share tonight. This morning we were notified, of course, many of you have participated in this process for a while now, shaping out what will be the county's CDBG-DR action plan, which enables us to secure as well as utilize federal funding for our recovery needs, long-term recovery needs. And so this morning we were notified that the action plan submitted was approved, which is amazing news. Yes, absolutely. Due largely in part, of course, to community efforts and engagement. You folks participated throughout the entire process. We took a lot of the engagement that occurred before we even knew we were going to be awardee to help shape and guide kind of the planning process, as well as during the actual planning process itself. A lot of great comments from the community, a lot of great input that went into the action plan. And so, on behalf of Mayor Bissen, our community should be really proud of all the work that you guys did in helping to shape the plan that now will be enabled to be used for your benefit and for our community's benefit. I would just note that there are additional steps in this process before we will be able to actually start utilizing funds. Most importantly is obtaining a grant agreement and then being able to execute that. So there's still additional steps in this process. We cleared a huge hurdle today by getting our action plan approved. And so we want to share that news with all of you, that great news. And I wanted to point out for our Office of Recovery staff, our CDBG-DR staff, if you guys could please stand. I know they've been recognized before. They put a ton of effort and time. Thank you. Many nights, weekends, time away from your family. Really appreciate everything that you guys did to help get this for our community. So thank you very much. And of course, they're available after too if there are any questions. I'd like to call up John Smith now, our recovery administrator, for additional updates. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Thanks, Josiah. Yeah, it's really, really great news. Am I standing in the right place? Even though I've done this, I never quite get it right. Yeah, it was awesome news. So just to reiterate, we did get that approval this morning, but we have a few more steps to go through. Everything takes a little bit longer with the federal government, but we're going to follow all the steps so that we can get all the money in that we can to support the community. So we wanted to, knowing that, we just wanted to give you guys another heads up and another reminder that intake and eligibility is coming later this summer. So we're setting up the programs. We've been working on them, but keep your documents. So we're going to post this on the website. The approved action plan, the one that is approved, is on the county website. You can go back and read it if you'd like to see where your input contributed to the plan. But just some simple tips for how to keep your documentation so that when we do the intake that you'll be ready for us. I'm not going to read all of this, but this will be posted on the website. Quick update on our statistics for building. We have issued 395 permits. We're almost to 400. And the uptick is 19 of those are complete. That means a certificate of occupancy for those families, those residential units. Over 260 homes are under construction. So you see that out in the community. I think that's worth celebrating, but we're not done. We're going to keep going until they're all rebuilt. Recreational access, we did do some limited recreational access. We announced that last week. That's in existence now. Just a reminder that that's there. We're tweaking this or continuing to tweak this until we get it exactly right and make sure that we protect all the sensitive areas in Lahaina and we don't just open the floodgates to this. This is primarily for locals. So, but that is out there today. We have some workshops coming up. So I'm going to ask Jen to come up and do this section of the presentation, and then I'll take back over when she's done.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, John. Aloha, everyone. I'm Jen Maiden with the Office of Recovery. So I'm going to share with you some opportunities coming up in the end of June, what Mahina was referring to as far as opportunities to get engaged specifically within the commercial core of Lahaina, talking about street connectivity and mobility. So the Office of Recovery, we will be inviting you to some workshops, really, as I said, focusing on streets. How will streets be rebuilt in the commercial core of Lahaina, Front Street and other streets? And really considering how all users, how we can accommodate all users, whether you're walking, you're biking, you're driving and parking a car, maybe you're making deliveries, you work there, you own property there, you're a community member from Lahaina or elsewhere, riding the bus, however you get around the commercial core of Lahaina. We want to talk about how you do that and how we can make that most inviting and welcoming. And this is a project within the long-term recovery plan, and I want to mahalo Sarah for referencing the long-term recovery plan and the projects that EPA are working on. I think it's an important reminder that all of the work that you all did engaging in neighborhood workshops last year, that's not at all gone. That is carrying into a lot of the work that we're doing, and these are some of the projects coming forward. So I think it's important for us to make that tie so that you understand your work that you did before. We heard you, and we're carrying that forward. So Office of Recovery, we are leading this project, and we do have a team of consultants helping us, a mix of local professionals and professionals from the mainland, helping us with street design and mobility. So we have experts helping us out, but they are just part of our team. This is a county project. This is community-led. This is community voices. But we have experts helping us with capacity and expertise that we don't have. So the focus of the project is really what we're calling the commercial core of Lahaina. So on the north from Baker Street, south to Prison, and basically from the shoreline to the highway, really that core, and with Front Street being an important part of that. So why is this even necessary? Why do we need to do this? So in those neighborhood planning workshops last year for the long-term recovery plan, we heard loud and clear from the community of how you want to build back the commercial heart of Lahaina. You want to recognize it. You want to know the buildings. You want that character of small town Lahaina. You want that back. You want streets that are for people, that you can walk, you can bike, you can get around. You want to feel welcome there. You want to recognize the buildings. You want to recognize your neighbors, your friends. We heard that safety is really important. Safety getting around, safety with power lines. We heard a lot, and so we need to figure out how to make that happen, because unfortunately, our county codes for our zoning, our street design standards, our standards for stormwater, they will not let us build back Lahaina as you all know it and love it. So we need to change our codes, and we need your voice in there as we do that. So we have some workshops and open houses coming up at the end of June. We have multiple opportunities to engage. And depending on your interests, your availability, how much you want to participate, pick one, come to all. And we do have flyers that we can you can grab and take home. So as far as our schedule of events, Tuesday and Wednesday, June 24th and 25th in the afternoon, we'll be having some workshops. And these will be different than workshops that we did before, and probably different than workshops that you've ever gone to. These will be at the Resource Center at Gateway. County staff, our design professionals will be there. We'll be drawing, well, the design professionals, I don't know that I'll be drawing. They will be drawing out, designing the streets and the public spaces. And you can watch them work, provide your input, be really a part of the process. So that'll be Tuesday and Wednesday afternoon, 24th and 25th. Stop by it's what do we have? 1:30 to 3:30 or 1 to 5 and 1. So there's an open window. Stop by for 5 minutes, stop by for a couple hours. And then on Wednesday in the afternoon, evening, we're going to have an open house where you can come see the designs that have been developed so far, see the work that's in progress, provide your input, ask questions, talk story. And then on Thursday, we're going to have another open house and closing presentation, and that'll be here. The other activities will be all at the Resource Center. Thursday, open house, closing presentation will be here, where we'll present the designs so far. And it'll all be a work in progress, but we'll talk about them, present them, and have an open house where you can provide more feedback. So, and as far as what's next, and I want to emphasize that this isn't intended to slow anything down. Commercial properties can still come in and move forward on their designs, but this should help meet the community's needs and meet the community's vision. So we are actively talking with commercial property owners, getting them wrapped into this process. But as far as what would be next after our June activity, we'll have some sort of event in the fall as well to show the designs and the process that's in the works. More opportunity for feedback. We're figuring out what those details will be, but I hope you all will participate. If what the commercial core looks like, how you walk, how you get around, if that's important for you, we really want to hear your voice at these workshops and open house.
Thanks, Jen, and we'll be here for questions. If any of that didn't make sense, I'm really excited about that process. And we also want to note that we're not excluding the rural complex area. In fact, we see that as the pinnacle of this whole thing. So that all of the work that OEV Resources is doing will be combined with this streets and open space and walkability work too. So those projects are all going to move forward concurrently. So that is happening. The Front Street railing project is underway. If you haven't, we've talked about that in the past. That was part of the damage from the fire. That was actually a project that was approved and getting ready to start construction right before August 8th. So that project is now back on track and is moving forward. And that has a lot to do with how come there's still quite a few areas that are closed in downtown area. That construction is going to go on for into next year. It's a big project. It's ongoing now. We talked about the wildfire debris. We are actively working with Dobar, and we'll have them come back with harbor coordination, their projects, and when that will come online. So you'll see more about that in future meetings. Access planning, we hit on it. We have limited access now, but we're going to have a more comprehensive and a holistic access plan as we move forward, especially protecting some of the more sensitive areas in Lahaina. Streets and parking is always at top of mind. We have lots of stuff going on with streets, and council member mentioned working with some of our codes in terms of parking and the requirements for houses and how to fix that problem on some of the rebuild areas in residential. So that's an ongoing thing. We are enforcing our codes, so there are code violations out there. We are enforcing. There have been some stop work orders on some builds that weren't following codes, and making folks come into compliance is just part of the job for the county. Planning department and public works are both involved in those. We've talked about property acquisitions and connections before. I've been here with Aaron before talking about that. That's an ongoing process. We're getting some additional help with that. Trust for Public Land is going to come in and help us for some of that too. So you'll hear more about that in the future. It's just all part of recovery. We've got memorial planning coming up. And of course, now that we have an approved DR action plan, that's really going to ramp up. So you're going to hear more and more about that throughout the summer. We still expect to hit the mark of taking in intake and eligibility late this summer. So that is in a snapshot, what's in the works. With that, and I know you've had a lot, we'll call up our prosecuting attorney.
Aloha mai kako. My name is Andrew Martin. I'm the prosecuting attorney for the county, and I wanted to just take an opportunity this evening to talk to you a little bit about some tools, some things that you can walk away with tonight that will empower you to be able to identify potential fraud and therefore become a fraud fighter yourself. It's good to see some familiar faces in the crowd here. I recognize some of you as having attended our fraud presentation at the Lahaina Civic Center 3 weeks ago. Myself and Paul Greenwood joined AARP and talked to a group of you about some of these very same topics I'm going to talk about tonight. That was a longer conversation. This is a much condensed version of that presentation, focusing on some of the things that we're concerned with and even seeing with some of the rebuild. So we're going to go through some red flags. We're going to go through some common fraud tactics that we have seen in cases involving unlicensed and licensed contractor fraud. I'm going to give you some steps to protect yourself and then tell you where to go to get help. The first thing I want to talk to you about actually is licensed contractors. So what people are most concerned about most often is the unlicensed contractor coming and attempting to do work. However, I want you to also be aware that there can be concerns with licensed contractors as well. So there's some things I want you to look out for when you're deciding on bringing a contractor onto your job. We are one of our state here in Hawaii, we do not have a statute that it dictates the maximum down payment that can be made to a general contractor, unfortunately. So the fact that a general contractor asks for a large down payment doesn't mean that that's illegal, but it is a red flag I want you to be aware of. Anything beyond 10 or 20% is suspicious, and I want you to look out for. One of the things we've seen is down payments being made for almost the entire contract amount. That is a major red flag and something I want you to be aware of. Anyone who pressures you into an immediate decision. We've got a lot of other jobs. I can do it for you at this price today. I can get my crew out here, within the next couple of weeks. But honestly, you wait any longer and, forget about it. Anyone who puts any kind of pressure on you to get the deal done at the price and the terms that they're dictating, you need to pause and take a step back. That's a red flag. Anyone who offers a significantly lower bid than others. We're going to talk to you about steps that I want you to take when you're trying to find a contractor to take the job and how many bids you should get. If there is an exceptionally low bid and it seems too good to be true, guess what? It probably is. One of the things that you should be doing, and we're going to talk about, is asking for references and asking for proof of surety bonds and insurance. If any contractor is unwilling to give those to you or says they will but never follows through, it's a red flag. A surety bond is something that protects you as the homeowner if the work doesn't get completed as per the contract, if the work gets abandoned. It is insurance, if you will, that the contractor is required to take out as a part of their licensing procedure that protects you, the consumer, you, the homeowner. If they don't provide a detailed written contract, major, major red flag, right? There's some certain things I want to make sure that you get into any contract. It should be in writing. It should include the scope of work, what materials are going to be involved, the timeline for completion of the project, and then a payment schedule. We're going to talk more about how that payment schedule should look. It should be tied to work that's been completed. We know that we also have unlicensed contractors that operate on this island and are interested in taking advantage of the current situation in Lahaina. Anyone who's soliciting door-to-door by email, by phone call, something I want to raise a red flag, those antennas that you got for potential fraud. Again, if they can't provide proof of bonding or insurance, if you're licensed, you're required to carry those things, all right? Anyone who insists on cash only, major red flag, right? I mean, unlicensed contractors are doing that as a way to avoid taxes, but also to eliminate any type of potential paper trail. Anyone who uses leftover materials from another job, I've had licensed contractors do work at my house where, honestly, I have done that after I've seen the materials myself and made sure that it meets what I wanted to put in my house. But if you're getting sold on, hey, listen, you're not even going to have to buy materials for this because guess what? I got a lot of stuff left over from another job. I can take care of that from you. We're going to knock that off the price. It's a red flag for you, all right? This is a big one. Anyone who asks you to apply for an owner-builder permit, all right? Your licensed contractor is required to go through the permitting process for you. They handle that. Anyone who's asking you as the owner to get the permits, it is a red flag that they are unlicensed. And I'm going to share with you later on how you can do some work to follow up on whether or not the person you're talking to is licensed. So the things we're seeing, obviously price gouging, contractors who are asking for labor rates that are far above market value, any kind of lowballing or change orders, right? So you get a lowball price, and then all of a sudden the contractor comes in with change order after change order after change order, saying that work needs to be done that wasn't planned for. We're going to have to order additional or different materials in order to complete that work. Now, understand that that's a part of any construction project, but when it happens pervasively, it's a major problem. And when it's for work that's unnecessary, that's when we get concerned for you, the homeowner. Substandard work or shoddy materials is something we're always concerned about. And this is a big one, and one we're seeing now, and one we've seen even before the fires, is abandonment of work, right? So usually it's coupled with collection of a huge down payment, a massive down payment. The work gets started, some materials arrive, and then the work site gets abandoned. And the hope on the contractor side is that, or the unlicensed contractor side, is that they've collected a large down payment, and this, they're hoping, becomes a contractual dispute, something that they're hoping, you won't have the energy or the time to pursue with a civil lawyer, therefore it won't come back on them, and they're not worried about any potential criminal liability, because they're just going to say, well, listen, I mean, we started the work. It's just, we didn't finish it for any of these variety of reasons, but I always intended to go back. Any kind of abandonment of work, obviously, is something we're really worried about and are seeing already. So how can you protect yourself? Verify licenses and insurance, all right? We've got these boards back here with the QR code, and I'm going to give you one here at the end that I'll tell you to all take your phones out and take a picture of. Always check your contractor's license with DCCA, all right? Also, I talked about asking for bonding and insurance. Ask for proof and then call the company to confirm that they've got it. All right? Get multiple bids. This is huge. I know that Uncle So-and-so told you that this contractor was awesome because they did work for them several years ago, right? And you don't need no other bids because you know this person's solid. No. Get a minimum of 3 bids. It helps you do a couple different things, right? Number one, you hear different things from different contractors. You get your own personal sense of their professionalism and their ability to complete the job as contracted. But the other important thing is you get to see outliers, all right? When you get 2 bids that are relatively close to one another and one that's way down here, folks, don't think, wow, I lucked out. This is awesome. I got this bid that's so far below everyone else, that's the one we're gonna go with. It's a red flag. If it's an outlier, it's something you need to take a step back with and think about, all right? So get those 3 bids. Demand that detailed written contract. Make sure you've got the scope of work well defined. Make sure you've got your timeline of when the work is gonna be completed, what kind of materials are gonna be used, and a clear payment schedule. And that payment schedule should be tied to certain milestones, right? So your contractor, if they're on the up and up, should have no problem detailing that when certain steps are completed in the project, you will owe this percentage of the total amount of the contract as we go through. Now, it's not unusual, in fact, it's necessary for there to be funds provided from the homeowner to the contractor to be able to pay for materials. Demand on invoices, estimates, receipts, and pay as you go. Don't make some huge lump sum payment for all the materials that are gonna be required throughout the entirety of the job, all right? Never pay in full up front. That is a major red flag. Anyone who's requiring you to pay in full up front is a red flag and something that I want to set off alarm bells with you. Do your research. Check those online reviews, okay? One of the best ones, Better Business Bureau. What we see often is there are a number of complaints with the Better Business Bureau about potential fraudulent activity that never make it to my desk. So check the Better Business Bureau, check Google, check online, ask for references, drive by previous projects, or more importantly right now, ongoing projects. Is there activity at the site, right? Document everything. Keep copies of the contracts, keep copies of all invoices and receipts, and document the work as it progresses, okay? All right. So now you can all take out your phones, all right? I want you to capture this QR code. This is gonna take you to DCCA's Maui Strong website, where they have a host of resources specifically designed to help those of you who are either involved in or going to be involved in the rebuilding process. It includes emails that you can utilize to determine what type of licenses are required by your general contractor and your subcontractors, and what you and to ask for assistance in making sure that everyone involved in the project is licensed. All right. You can look up the Regulated Industry Complaint Office. All right. RICO. This is a division within DCCA that handles all complaints against licensed industries, all right, including general contractors and subcontractors who would be involved in your home rebuild. Check RICO's website. The link is at this QR code. It's one of the many links. Research the contractors and determine if they've had previous RICO complaints and what those are for. Call the numbers on the website. Talk to DCCA about potential pending complaints or resolved complaints, about not only the general contractor, but potential subcontractors, all right? You can go to this website at the top, and again, that link will take you right there. But of course, if you fear that you've been a victim of fraud, I want you to contact the police department. All right? I want you to contact the police department. I want you to contact RICO. And I also put a couple of other numbers up here, including our email address. If you fear that you've been a victim of fraud and you contact and file a police report, I also want you to send an email to my office at this address at the bottom, prosecuting.attorney@mauicounty.gov. The reason is, as these complaints come in, and unfortunately they are, all right, we're starting to see a number of complaints about potential contractor fraud. I want you to send us whatever you send to the Maui Police Department, including a report number if you get it, because we're tracking it on our end. Just yesterday, I had a meeting with the captain of the Criminal Investigation Division to talk about these cases and how we're going to be proceeding on them, all right? So please let us know if you filed a complaint so that we can track it. But I want you to contact RICO and file a complaint. I want you to contact the Maui Police Department. So, key takeaways from this very brief, condensed version of our Fraud Fighters presentation. Be patient. Don't be pressured, all right? Take a step back. Take your time, do your research, and you don't have to rush into any decisions, all right? Verify, verify, verify. Check licenses, check bonds, check insurance. Get absolutely everything in writing. Keep all documents, receipts, and photograph progress. Pay smart. Don't pay in full up front, all right? And make sure that payment is tied to completed work. And finally, and this is perhaps the best advice I can give you, is trust your gut. If something seems wrong to you, it probably is, all right? If you contact one of these other agencies for help, whether it's RICO or the Maui Police Department, and you're not getting the response that you think you should, folks, reach out to us. Call us at 808-270-7777. Email us at prosecuting.attorney@mauicounty.gov. We want to help you. We have people who can help you, all right? So I hope this was helpful to you all. It provided you with a couple kind of key takeaways in a very short period of time. I'll be up here after the rest of the question and answer session. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you folks have. Thank you very much.
I see folks I don't normally see at our community meetings. How many of you came for that presentation to learn more about fraud home building? Okay, thank you. And I know a few of you are not raising your hand, but I know you came for that. And we do have a competing event tonight at the Lahaina Civic Center, and those folks will catch up on the recorded version of tonight. Now, our prosecuting attorney, Mr. Martin, will be right here. That doesn't mean he'll charge you by the hour, but please just know that he's here to help you the best way he can. So just keep that in mind for some of you. We're going to go ahead and move into question and answer while our microphone folks get set up. I'm not sure who our two microphone folks are. They're pointing at each other. Okay. So I'm going to ask you to raise your hand. But I do want to remind you, the workshops that Jen Maiden talked about are by the window. Shane Agawa, can you raise your hand? Okay, where he is where the flyers are for the workshops coming up. Also on that table, if you have a workplace or somewhere, you can put this nice poster asking people about the Lahaina wildfire debris transfer beginning soon. You can help yourself to one of those as well. And then there's a stack of these differently colored headline signage that talks about be careful for homeowners contracting out. So we're going to go ahead and start with questions, but I have one question that came in. This is for Andy, for our prosecuting attorney. There's a second mic right there behind Shibo. If we gave a licensed contractor money, but there is no written contract, just a verbal agreement, Is there anything that can be done if that contractor on a verbal agreement takes the money but does nothing?
Is it on? Can you guys hear me? Yeah, so I mean, a verbal or even an implied contract can still be a legal contract, right? And depending on the circumstances of what work was done, completed, not completed, there still may be something that you can do. It may be more challenging, let's say, on the civil side of things, but depending on the facts and circumstances, there may be other things that RICO would want to know about or even law enforcement would want to know about. You know, if it's something specific you want to run by us afterwards, please come up and see us. But again, if that's already the situation you're in, you know, why don't you come talk to us and let's figure out what the path is potentially for you. But for those of you who haven't gotten to that step yet, again, make sure you get that written contract, okay? Yeah, so it's state. So RICO is the Regulated Industries Complaint Office. It's a state office.
Okay, so Andy, I have one more question, if you can just hold on to that one. The question is for the prosecuting attorney's office to prosecute. Have you folks started to see a very noticeable trend in complaints or incidents?
Well, let me take the question from this point of view. Are we seeing a trend? Potentially. We have a number of complaints that are coming in and being looked at right now that are concerning to us. Understand that prosecuting any fraud case as a crime, not just within this particular context, but many other contexts, is challenging for a number of different reasons, right? But there are things that we are seeing going on with the rebuilding in Lahaina that are very concerning to us right now. So we are seeing an uptick and a trend in cases that we think are potentially fraudulent and are being investigated.
Thank you, Andy. Go ahead and raise your hand here if you have a question. Morris, right behind you. Oh, okay, who's got what side? Morris, right here. Gentleman was first, and then, right, okay. And then I see in the middle. Go ahead, sir, your question.
Yes, aloha. My name is John Crew. I'm pastor of Lahaina United Methodist Church. Oh, yes, okay. And we are on Front Street in Baker, and we have submitted a permit to put up a temporary structure. We have 2 parcels of land on our property. One was purchased in 1922 when we built the church, and another was granted in the 50s. Some of the buildings that we want to provide water to are on another parcel of land, but our water source is on the first parcel of land. So we're having difficulty now. Our permit was declined at this point because our water source is on the first land, and they can't take it over from one parcel to another. So there's a couple of actions that they suggested. One was to combine the property, which I'm okay with doing, but I think that takes a long time. The other is to put in another water source, which I think would also be problematic. So I'm wondering if there's a plan. I don't think I'm the only one with this problem. Is there a plan to do some sort of waiver until we can do the necessary paperwork so we can get started? We have some properties where people live that lived on the property, the duplex, and then my house, and then the preschool that we'd like to open up as soon as we can.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm going to see whether Office of Recovery can respond about different parcels with water sources on one. Their permit was denied. What could be down the road?
Yeah, we're aware of your situation. We're working on a creative solution with the water supply department, and that's about all I could say about it right now, but thank you for bringing it up. There are some really interesting challenges, and I don't mean to say that lightly, with the rebuild, because so many things were constructed prior to our codes. And that's actually a lot of what Jen was talking about tonight. Was when we heard all of your input and why it's so important that we go through these exercises moving forward, was we realized that the rules don't really match what Lahaina was. And so we are actively working with our departments to make solutions that really shouldn't exist, but we're going to make exist to help you folks bring back the town that we want. So that's the best I can say. It's not always fast, but we are working diligently on those problems. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you, John. Jackie, your question?
Thanks, Mahina. You'll be happy that I don't have a question. I just have a community kahea. So one thing that Councilmember Paulton didn't mention, probably because it's a little much, Monday, June 9th at 10 a.m., the transient vacation rental rezoning bill is going up in front of the county's land use committee. We do need the community to show up in whatever form that is possible. So if you can physically be there, awesome, please do. If you're willing to give testimony, awesome, please do. If you just want to leave an e-comment or you want to submit your testimony online, all of those things are helpful. And you'll be seeing a lot of stuff circulating in the next couple of days. So please stay awake and engaged for this fight because we need the community to get this bill passed. So thanks.
Thank you, Jackie. We had a question.
9 a.m. to 5:30.
We had a question in the middle. Okay, we'll go there and then to the middle.
Okay. First of all, thank you, John and Jen. The community engagement sounds really promising, and I hope to participate. One of the things, for John Smith, it's if we still haven't gotten the big picture for Lahaina and the commercial area, why are you guys working on a project now before there's the big picture?
Okay. Great question. So we are working with all parties involved, from starting at the Royal Complex, working all the way through the commercial areas. The county doesn't control everything. I think the biggest thing to understand is that we have some really large owners in the commercial core, and we're working with them on this rebuild activity, and we're inviting you folks to give your input on how those rebuilds come back. That's one part of the question, and we want to make sure we're sensitive to the culture of Lahaina and what does come back in terms of all of the rich history. So we didn't come out with a giant, this is the plan, because it's not a blank portrait. It's a giant puzzle, and we're putting that puzzle together. Jen. Oh, you're talking about the seawall project? Oh, you're talking about the Front Street commercial? Okay. Well, let's hold that. If somebody else asks me a different question, and I'll re-answer that one. But the railing project, is that what you're talking about? Okay. That project has been in the works for about 12 years.
Yes, but prior to the town burning down, now we're looking at a completely different blank slate, and you guys have started putting together a project down there before the plan is made. I mean...
Well, the plan's not made, but the project itself has to happen. We have utilities that are right along that corridor, wastewater lines in particular. So if we lose that railing and that wall, it's wastewater directly into the ocean. Like, we can't just not do this project. So we have to move forward with something. That project was already vetted. That project was already permitted prior to the fire. All we're saying is it's starting again now, and it's right on Front Street, and it still gives us lots of room from that railing, Malka, to have this engagement that we're talking about with Jen. Okay. I hope that answered. We couldn't wait for that one.
Okay. The other thing, thank you for the answer. The other thing is, these temporary building permits should be expedited. I, as well, have been waiting for, I think my initial submission was April 17th, and it's supposed to be temporary. The expectation is that it comes down in 5 years, and the amount of mental health and emotional stress that this causes people is really unfair when you're talking about trying to help our mental health. It's like, make it easier. And that's, you don't have to answer that. Okay. And the other thing is with the permitting fees. I know at the beginning there was conversation about having permitting fees waived for rebuilds, but now I'm hearing people paying upwards of $7,000+ on permitting fees. Can somebody explain what's going on?
Yeah, permitting fees are still active. Those fees are necessary to run the permitting department, and they pay into the expedited permitted process that we have underway. They also, there's some eligibility issues that we would need to work through in terms of if we didn't need to charge the fee, then we couldn't get reimbursed for some of the work that we're doing with FEMA. So it's a little bit complicated on that side, but the decision was made that we couldn't just eliminate the fees altogether. We are working with folks like Hawaii Community Foundation and other lenders to supplement the rebuilds and pay the fees for you, or front the money for the fees. So there's been a lot of work with surveys, permitting fees, upfront design costs. There's lots of programs out there to help pay those fees if you pursue those. So, but the fees aren't going to go away. Thanks for the question.
Thank you, John. We'll go ahead to the middle. Yes.
Hello. Oh, hi. Can I just stay? I'm going to stay sitting. So speaking of the partnership with Four Leaf issuing the permits, people are building homes that are massively bigger than they were before, creating urban design issues if the decision makers allowing these monstrosities to keep going up. I understand generating rental income and more so providing homes for Lahaina residents. However, I remember when all this started and people were concerned that Lahaina would become a smart city. What about it becoming like New York City? And we're building on top of each other. And Four Leaf is currently working with our county that we pay for, the tax dollars, to make these decisions. And so I would like to understand, can we slow down and get some help from the administration and the Army Corps? I remember Bob Fenton with FEMA said this was an anomaly, and it is. And I feel like with all the building, we're going to have a population of 50,000 in the next 10 years, and we haven't even planned for roads and infrastructure and power lines because, you know, Aki Street just threw up power lines 2 months ago, and that's where 40 plus people died. Why are we putting power lines and rushing the progress of construction when we haven't even figured out the urban design plan? We already lost human lives because of infrastructure failures. I just want us to slow down a little bit.
Thank you. I'm going to ask John if he wants to offer.
Yeah, I can jump in. Thank you for that comment and concern. We share the same concern. We're working very hard with our Public Works Department on making all of those connections in that area. So actively purchasing property, actively connecting roads, actively where it's too narrow, widening some of them. That work is underway and will come to fruition. So that initial talk that we had and that connection work, and it's one of the rebuild projects, it's well underway. And we can come back and give you an update for where that stands. So it's happening. In terms of the houses that are being approved that people are calling monster homes, I think all of them so far have met the code that exists. So we're talking about how do we tweak the code, and that goes to the parking comment we had earlier, so that, like, okay, you can have a regular size house, but once you get to X amount of bedrooms, you have to accommodate that on your lot with extra parking. So we're actively trying to pass that code amendment right now to curb that, to curb the housing. But it's, yeah, go ahead.
Hang on for your mic so that we can.
Waikuli, you've got, you know, some houses that didn't burn, but then right behind them there's like monstrosities. And everybody's trying to keep the integrity of Lahaina before tourism took over in 1980 or 1970, excuse me. So again, we have the perfect footprint to do this. It's like gone. So now we rebuild. So I just feel like we should wait on all of the permits being issued until we can do the codes, like you said. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a tough balance because we still know there's so many people that don't have permanent homes too. So, and people have mortgages. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Morris.
Test. Okay. I have in my hand the 22nd proclamation from the governor relating to wildfires. These proclamations are renewed every 3 months. So this one was just signed yesterday. And what it does is it gives the different agencies of the state great latitude to not ignore their rules, but to modify the rules in response to the wildfires. The purpose is to limit the damage, both economic and physical and mental, to the citizens of Hawaii. We need to get our people back to work in the harbor. The harbor has been open for use, for fueling and for water and for storm watch for quite a while. But the choke point has been access to the harbor, and that's what the county is controlling. I'm a steward of the harbor. I've worked out of that harbor for over 55 years. I want to compliment Mr. Smith for allowing access to the sides of the harbor. I was just down there watching all the kids go down the surfer stairs. And by the way, John, I built those surfer stairs 20 years ago and donated them to the state. And so now all the people that use those surfer stairs to keep them from getting cut up, those are because I'm concerned about safety in our harbor. As I was down there today, I saw a bunch of little kids ignoring the signs, jumping off the piers, jumping off the roofs. And you know what? The kids have been doing that for years and years. I hope the state will move their temporary trailer back to the harbor. But at this point, so many of my staff have been forced to leave the island. Not all of them are construction workers. The big problem we have is access and parking, and that's 100% under your control. Driving businesses under, bankrupting them, is not helping one little bit. So I only can encourage the county to put this on the fast track. I've heard rumors of December. Put it on the fast track and give us access. There's already access to the harbor. And if you've got a bunch of school kids that can be cruising around the harbor as it is now, I don't see it's a safety concern. I think it's more of a political concern. But, you know, these are local companies with local employees. So it really is not a tourist issue, it's a local issue. We need to get back to work. And putting pressure, I'm going to talk to the Army Corps, is when are they going to be able to vacate that big parking lot on the corner of Front and Prison? Everything's there, the boats are ready to operate, but we need the county to fast track it.
Okay, sir, I'm going to have, see if John would like to offer anything.
So we recognize that the harbor is more than significant in terms of the economic vitality of the town. We are actively working with DOBAR. In fact, I just set up some additional regular meetings with the folks in charge of DOBAR so that we can better coordinate access and how the harbor comes back. One of the big things is the restroom facilities down there. Parking is obviously an issue. And then making sure that we protect the surrounding areas from people trampling over some of the historic sites. So we're working on it. I know that doesn't solve the problem. We're working as quickly as we can to bring the harbor back. But there's still some outstanding items. And I wish I was in control of everything, but I'm not in control of everything. Actually, I don't wish that. But, so we still do have to work with the state on the harbor, and we are. So we'll bring them back here to give you an update on the access plan and the restoration plans for the harbor. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And we'll have Army Corps respond to the question about that lot.
Thank you for the question. So we're contractors, contracting officers are working very hard right now to try to get the final paperwork in place. Our goal is to have the batteries off that lot by July. We have a few things that are out of our control, but we are working as hard as we can to try to get that done as fast as possible.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Morris. Question in the back. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you. So I've been listening to everybody that spoke earlier about permitting plans. What are we doing? And I agree with a lot of what you are saying. I myself, I have a lot of questions about the historical SMA permitting process. So far, and I hate to say it, but I'm one of the first permits issued down there, and I was held to very strict codes. And I have been seeing things coming up that I did not get the same considerations as other homes. I had to downsize my house. I couldn't build like for like. And I complied with everything down in there. And then 6 months later, there's a 12-bedroom, 6-bath house that just came up behind me. Down the street, there's an LA Barbie Malibu Art Deco house that just passed. I would like to know who has the final say in the permitting process that okays these homes that are slipping through the cracks. I don't understand why they are slipping through the cracks. If we are being held to historical standards, which a vast majority of us are, that are building around me, how are a special few slipping through? It's bothersome. It's bumming me out to watch it, and we're so early on in the building process. I feel like you guys are losing control of your departments, and you're not communicating with each other. How is this happening? The Mr. Deal Front Street house, the LA Art Deco one that's been on the news, I don't get how he has been able to have multiple deferred meetings on whether he gets to build back that house that never should have been permitted the first time in the historical district. So if we are all being held to codes and standards now, how is a special few slipping through the cracks, and why are they allowed to slip through the cracks? Hold on. And I also want to know if certain home builders, like West Maui Land Company, are they getting special treatment and concessions on their builds down in there where they pay a little bit less on the permitting process than other homeowners? And if that's the case, and these homes are allowed to go through like Mr. Deal's house and these LA Malibu Barbie houses that look nothing historical, I would like my permitting fees back. I would also like my building plan money back, because I was held to standards and codes and laws that nobody else is seems like being held to. And I'd like some answers, and I want to know who has the final say on those permits being issued that did pass. Thank you.
Thank you. John? John or
well,
our
I'm going to
director?
ask our planning director, Kate, thanks for being here, to help us answer this question. You can probably you start and I'll finish.
Okay, thank you for your question, and we got your email. In fact, I'm meeting with staff tomorrow about this subject. We just have been slammed this week, so I hadn't had a chance. We've learned a lot along the way. I started this job in January of last year, and we've been adjusting and changing and learning and growing. All of the departments, not just mine, the planning department, but all the departments have been working together to move as quickly as possible to recognize when we have a process that isn't quite suited for the situation and making adjustments to that process. I can't say we've done everything perfectly, because we absolutely haven't. We're trying, and we're constantly adjusting and constantly changing to meet this moment. Our systems, I've said this again and again, were not built for this moment. And so we've had to change them. We've done that through emergency proclamations. We've done that through changes to our code, like Bill 104, Bill 103, Bill 105, which we've talked about here, and some of the bills that John just spoke about, that we're going to make adjustments to the parking code as a result of our conversations. We can't know everything until we run into it. And so I hear you, the ones that came in early and had to go through a more rigorous process. I know that's frustrating. But I know that the resulting systems that we're going to have in place when this is done are going to be so much better. And I wish I could go back in time and know everything I know now. I can just only speak for my department. I wish I could go back in time and know everything I know now, January 22nd, my very first day. But I didn't. And we're all learning. Even people who had been in this job a lot longer than I have, we're learning and finding cracks in our systems. So we're trying to constantly grow and change, and you're going to see more of that going forward. And I'm sorry.
Can you hang on for the mic only because we're also live streaming, so.
I know this is the elephant in the room that everybody probably feels the same way about. It's just, I feel like I'm the only one that's got some balls to come up here and say it publicly. So before the fire, we were held to the same historical codes before the fire. And then after, those homes on the oceanfront that are still standing got built. Here we are 20 years later, I'm held to the same historical codes and standards. And yet a special few seem to slip through the cracks. Are you going to be consistent enforcing the historical code? Because a vast majority of down there, you have put us through the ringer to build back. And then there's an LA Barbie house going up on Front Street that it's been on the news. And monster houses going up. After you're telling people no, post and pier, historical, roof type pitch, this and that, and then you got these houses with, they don't even look historical. I would like to hope that you guys right now fix the problem and not all of us complaining about how Lahaina looks nothing historical and we now become LA. Like, is that the plan for the future of Lahaina? Is that where we're heading? Because it sure seems like it when you're letting this kind of stuff so early on slip through the cracks. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
I assure you that conversation will be had among our team as well. Thank you. I thought I saw Mars waving. Okay. Sir, you have a question? Okay, hang on for the microphone right behind you. Your question.
Being the victim at the Front Street Apartments, I have lung damage, kidney problems, but then the big question is, I come from construction and development, and I operate engineers for core drilling and everything. So just like the lady was saying, you know, and the prosecutor at the AARP meeting, it was really hard when the question came up, how did you get your permit? I knew somebody in the I knew someone on the city council. But then my question is, what kind of setbacks are we making since Front Street Apartment right there is at sea level? Yeah, right there. And how are we going to prevent that? Because Maui Community College turned into the preschool, and just like the Barbie house, all that took was cash. You know, and my other thing, being a commercial fisherman, making sure, besides the EPA here, you know, that everything is Coast Guard approved when we start dredging the harbor on August 8th. That really concerns me, you know, because like I said, I am going to be leaving, you know, because of my Kanaka friends, because a lot of people aren't keeping up, you know, and being fair about everything. you know, and that's what I want to know. And I came up just with the moorings, and everything has to be Coast Guard approved on all this, and setbacks and variances, and state isn't good enough. It needs to be a federal RICO, you know, just because there is so much money involved. And we want to keep this historical. Even when I leave, I want to make sure all my Hawaiian friends, you know, since some people will doubt me and don't like me because this is the kingdom of Hawaii. And that's how some of it we like to stay.
Okay, we're going to attempt to answer some of those questions. Thank you for the questions. On the setback for the franchise, are we planning accordingly?
Yeah. So we are doing what we can. In addition to making sure that people follow the rules, we're trying to make sure that it comes back more resilient. So we're working with all of the owners to make sure that they don't build in the floodplain, they don't build in areas that are going to be subject, like tidally influenced areas, subject to sea level rise. All of those things are also actively being worked on by our departments. So we hear you, and we're doing the best we can, and we want to be as fair as we can, and we don't want to give people special treatment. So thank you for the comment.
And as John had said earlier, you know, with the Coast Guard harbor boating, those things are to be addressed with the state, with their jurisdiction, which we are actively also engaged in. So thank you for that. We are going to take a question from the back, and I want to be mindful that many of you like using the opportunity at these meetings to visit our different tables here to get your individual questions, get assistance. So we're going to go ahead. We've been at it for a little while, but go ahead with your question.
Aloha.
Aloha.
I have just one question about Maui County did receive some federal funds for fire mitigation and whatnot. Would fire hydrants be included in that mitigation?
Yes. And in fact, the Water Supply Department put out a project very recently to increase not only the capacity that's able to run through the lines, but the number of fire hydrants that are available within the impact area. So that's also a project that's underway that you'll start seeing construction on later this year.
I live on a cul-de-sac, and there is no fire hydrant. So I was just hoping, because we are still waiting on our building permit, and part of the permit, because the house is large, but the lot is very large too. It's 11,000 square feet. So they are requiring not one, but maybe 2 fire hydrants. So would that fall under county or the owner?
Well, if the Department of Water Supply has a project that meets the need, meaning they would bring a hydrant down your street close enough, then that would be something that the county would pay for. If that's not part of that project, then it is a requirement. Speaking of requirements, we are making sure that fire hydrants are available and can reach every single home. That's why it's there. So I would have to look at your street, and we can cross-check that with the project that Water Supply is doing. So maybe you can afterwards you can tell us your address, and I can check with Water Supply.
Okay, thank you.
We're gonna take one more question from the gentleman here, and then we're gonna allow folks time to get to our table. Sir, your question?
I'm just following up on that one. If you're suggesting that the owners need to take on the cost of supplying the infrastructure for the county, how are you picking which owners get that honor?
Yeah, so it's a fair question, but it's based on how far away you are from a hydrant. Like we said before, most of the town was built prior to the standards. The standards that are in place now, I know what you're going to ask, but yeah, we'll look at your street, your house, and where we can, the county will bring the water.
As far as I know, I don't have a horse in this race.
Okay.
But it seems to me that you're picking winners and losers, and that doesn't seem to be the proper position for the
point
county.
The point of the entire water supply project was to find all the gaps and to fill those gaps. So we'll look at the specifics of this project, and hopefully that gap is filled. I just don't know the specifics. Yeah.
And in relation to the current codes as it is. What we're going to do is close for tonight. A couple of reminders. One, the workshops at the end of the month, pick up some information there. Two, June 16th, we will begin to transfer debris through the route that we've been talking about. So this is going to take some temporary time out of our lives, but we appreciate that because it is a necessary part of our recovery. Mahalo, everybody. Drive safe. Thank you.